Here at Spoonful of Strength, we want to make this podcast interactive. We want to hear your stories and we want you involved in our conversations. Follow Spoonful of Strength on Instagram, where we will post questions throughout the week. Your answers may be shared on our podcast. Do you have a story to share? Send us a message on Spoonful of Strength on Instagram with your health journey, and we may interview you on this show. Welcome to Spoonful of Strength, a podcast for people with chronic illness and the ones who love them, where we talk all things chronic. Here's your host, Rachel and Tina.
Welcome to Spoonful of Strength. Today's episode, we are talking.
Oh, wait, can you repeat that? Because I could barely hear it, and then now you're good.
Okay, I had readjusted myself, so I think I brought my knees a little closer. Welcome to Spoonful of Strength. Today, our guest is Steven Lopez from Florida, and he is going to be talking to us about his journey with his diagnosis of Chiari and I'm sorry.
Yeah, Chiari.
Chiari. I always want to say Chi.
I know.
Okay. His diagnosis. Let me just restart it again. Okay. Welcome to Spoonful of Strength, our Thursday episode. Today we're talking with Steven Lopez in Florida with his diagnosis of Chiari and a subsequent CSF leak due to surgery that he went through, his decompression surgery, and some of the amazing things that he is doing as far as advocating as a Chiari warrior.
Welcome, Steven, to our podcast. We're so glad that you're here today. Especially, I know you've had a busy day. I feel like you and I are getting to be Instagram friends.
Yes.
Yes, we've talked quite a bit, and you've been really patient. I know you've waited such a long time to be on here. So tell us a little bit about yourself and where you live, the things you do, and all that.
I just want to say, my name is Steven. I currently live in Tampa, Florida. I recently moved here. I was in Newport Richey, Florida, by the coast, which is like an hour north of here. So I just moved here recently. We're going to be here in Tampa for, I want to say, a few months. I am looking to move out of state to a cooler climate for my health reasons. I suffer from Chiari Malformation and syringomyelia. Then I also have, they call it comorbidities that come with those conditions. Like I have sinus tachycardia of my heart, and currently I have a CSF leak that's playing hard to find. So I haven't done much. I usually just sit at home. I have to rest a lot. Now I'm having issues walking, and my leg is always in pain. And so I go out when I have to. Plus, it's so hot here in Florida. If I'm outside too long, I get really, really dizzy. I start sweating a lot. So I try to avoid the outside. I'm like a vampire. But
where are you looking to move?
We fell in love with Gatlinburg, Tennessee, by the Smokies there. I went there.
There's a lot of people that really like that area.
It is so, I don't know, it's so peaceful. And honestly, when I first went there in December 2021, I felt more like my old self. I don't know if it's because of the elevation. My head didn't hurt as much. My neck didn't hurt as much. My wife even noticed my face wasn't so swollen, and she noticed the difference. I was more alert. So I fell in love with that. Plus, we went in the winter, so it was nice and chilly that day with those few days there. So it was fun to experience that, because Florida, it doesn't really get that cold, and if it does, it's for 2 days.
How did you first find out about your diagnosis? How did that come about?
I found out, I was on my way home from work one day, and it was a lot of traffic. I was at a standstill, and I look at my rearview mirror, and I see the Suburban coming. His head is down, and I'm like, he's not gonna stop. So he rear-ended me pretty good, and I hit the car in front of me. It was an onset within 10 minutes. The side of my face was swollen. I had this headache, and I thought it was just from the whiplash. So when I went to the doctor, they ordered MRI of my neck only. And that's how I found out I had syringomyelia in my neck, which is another word for it is syrinx. It's basically like a cyst in your spine. It's a collection of CSF fluid. So that's when I found I had that. I didn't find out about Chiari until months later because I didn't get a full brain MRI. How I knew I had it in 2016, I got into a car accident then as well. When I went and grabbed the records from there, it says I had Chiari malformation, and the doctors never told me all these years. And I had
Wow.
signs of it. I used to get these crazy headaches and these brain zaps, I call them, and I thought it was just my herniated disc in my neck. So when I showed my doctor that he did a full brain MRI, then that's when I found out I had the Chiari malformation. So it was about 6 months later to confirm it from February 2021.
I'm curious, can you explain, like, it piqued my interest when you mentioned like brain zips. I'm like, what are they like? What,
It's like
that knew something different was going on that shouldn't be going on.
it was the side of my head. It literally feels like your brain is zapping something electrical from the back of my head to the front, and it would go back and forth, and it would literally. I would have to stop, even if I'm sitting or walking. I would have to stop, and I would have to cover my head. I would cover my head with both arms, and it would last for about 10 to 20 seconds, and it would make my eyes shut, and it is really, really uncomfortable. Then it will just stop. And I would get that throughout the years. And I always said, I need to get a brain scan because this doesn't feel right. I still get them from time to time still. It's just a weird feeling. It's like you're getting electrocuted, but in that part of your head.
Wow. Wow.
So did the car accidents cause these issues, or are they completely, or is that just how you found it?
That's how I found it. Basically, the doctors told me I was most likely born with it. And then some people go their whole life having it and not have any symptoms at all. Since I got into a car accident and had whiplash and had trauma, he said it was like an on button. Once that happened, all the symptoms just turned on, like it activated. And which I found pretty interesting. It's like it took that to get hit for that to just turn on. And since that day, I haven't had a pain-free day. I don't even know how
Mm,
to feel normal anymore.
Wow.
yeah.
It's,
Frustrating. You talked about what a syrinx is, but can you explain to us what is the Chiari malformation? What does that mean?
yes, because basically the tonsils of your brain by your cerebellum, they that part herniates into your spinal canal, and then it also causes CSF obstruction. Then you're not getting any flow to that part of your head, and then it affects everything else in your body. So the symptoms are all over the place. So basically, when it happens, they make room and they take some of your skull out, and they make the room for the CSF fluid to flow properly. There's no cure for it. There's no medication for it, and it is progressive. So the surgery is just to slow down the progression and free up space in your skull. Because
Mm,
so it could still continue to herniate down, and I hope mine stays stable for a long time. But that's pretty much what it is. And just by looking at it in the MRI, you think to yourself, just that going into your spinal canal just changes your whole life. It's mind blowing. I've never heard of it until I got diagnosed.
yeah, me either. Tina, had you heard of it before?
I've heard of Chiari. I'm not sure how. It's just one
Yeah.
of those weird ones. It's like, oh, I knew enough that I knew that it was something that was that impacts, brain functions. But I didn't know a whole lot about it until we started meeting some of our followers. So you talked a little bit about the initial symptoms after your car accident, but can you describe some of on a daily basis, what type of symptoms, with both of them, with both disorders that you deal with?
I know when I first got the accident, as my symptoms progressed, I was getting numbness and tingling in my hands and my fingertips. I couldn't tell the difference between hot and cold water. I would put the water on extremely hot and it wouldn't bother me. Um, I would get leg weakness. Um, I would get the constant pressure headaches. They start from the back of your neck and they go to the front of your forehead. That was like a consistent headache. Um, the back of my neck was very painful and very sensitive to the touch. I had symptoms into my shoulders where it would be really tight and really achy, and they actually call it the cape effect. It feels like you're wearing a cape because it goes down to mine went to the middle of my back where it was just numbness, a lot of numbness in that area. Um, I would slur my speech a lot, which I do still do time to time. I was forgetting things, my memories. I would ask a question, then ask the same thing 5 minutes later, and people start telling me, you just asked me that. And what else? Yeah, I would forget a lot. I was constantly dropping things. One time I picked up just a half gallon of milk and I dropped it on the floor. Um, Walking was an issue. I would get more tired than usual. I was like fatigued. I know it affects your eyes. So I would see a lot of black floaters, nausea, dizziness. I would throw up randomly. Appetite was up and down. I noticed my heart rate was always higher and it was beating harder than usual. Just overall, is that the brain fog. That's another thing.
A couple years ago, my husband wanted to give me an MS t-shirt for my birthday. All he could find, though, were brightly colored t-shirts with big graphics, like a smiley face given 2 middle fingers, and words like F U M S. Isn't there an option for a simple, stylish t-shirt that spreads awareness with kindness? That's when I created Spoonful of Strength, shirts that are inspirational, motivational, and stylish. You can find us on Etsy, Instagram, and Facebook at Spoonful of Strength. That's Spoonful with 2 L's. Enter code podcast for 20% off anything in the shop.
I was working through all these symptoms and I lasted 1 more month and I was like, I can't work. I can't do this because I thought I was having a stroke. The left side of my face, when my coworker noticed, it was real droopy and my lip was drooping. My eye had a little sag to it, like on the corner of your eye. That day, it was such a weird feeling. And I went to physical therapy that day and told them about it. And they should have sent me to the hospital. And I went all weekend feeling like that. And then I finally did. And they checked my brain. They did a scan and they said, you weren't experiencing a stroke. And they told me sometimes Chiari could mimic a stroke. So that was real. That was a real scary part. That's when I said, this is starting to take over a lot of just consume me. So I was having those kind of issues on a daily basis.
Mm-hmm. You explained a little bit about the surgery that you had. It was
Yes.
a Chiari decompression surgery.
Correct. Yes.
So how did that go? Like, did you have any complications or anything from that?
Yes. The surgery, it was really painful. It was a really rough recovery. Um, I noticed 2 weeks after I was home, there was fluid coming out the top of my incision. It was clear fluid. At first, I thought it was just regular discharge because they said you would have some fluid coming out. But it was one day I woke up, the gauze, it fell and hit the floor, and it sounded like it was like a wet rag. And then when I grabbed it, and my shirt was soaked from my shoulder, my pillow was soaked. So I knew that wasn't normal. So I had to go back down. My surgery was in Miami and I lived up here and it was like 5 hour drive. So we had to drive back down there and they admitted me for 8 days. They put a lumbar drain in my lower back, and they would drain the nurse not every hour on the clock. They would drain spinal fluid, and I was on 5 days bed rest. So that complicated my recovery time because now I have this. Now they just pushed my recovery time even further out. So that was pretty traumatizing to me.
Yeah, I can imagine. So just to have a roadblock and an already, frustrating surgery. And so did the decompression surgery work aside from that bump in the road?
It helped free up, the flow of my CSF fluid. However, during the leak, some fluid leaked out of the surgery site, and it's still there. It's a pocket of CSF fluid, and that causes issues as well. Um, I can't pronounce it. It's a long word. I call it's pseudo for short. Um,
Mhm.
so they told me that that would eventually absorb, which it hasn't. It's still there. But after that leak and when I got discharged, I wasn't the same how I felt when I started feeling I felt like I got worse.
Mhm.
And that's when things got worse that the rest of the year.
What kind of plans do they have for fixing that? Are there any plans on how to correct the CSF leak?
Um, yes, there is. I did 4 lumbar punctures this year, which with patients and like with Chiari, they're against getting lumbar punctures because they could herniate the tonsils of your brain more. Um, so I did 4 of those and a cisternogram. Basically, they inject this nuclear medicine into your spine, and it travels up, and it will find the leak. It's not finding the leak. There's evidence of the leak. Like my lower back when they did the puncture, my opening and closing pressures are 0, and you're supposed to be at least 12 to 13. You're supposed to have pressure. And my neurosurgeon was shocked. He said, "You have no fluid down there." It took me a while, and I was in disbelief that there's no fluid down there. So that's why I believe too that's causing issues of my walking and the pain. So this was the last step to do this MRI to see if he could find the leak. If not, I'm not too sure what he's gonna do. I might have to go out of state to see another actual specialist that specializes in leaks, and because I don't want to live with a leak because that causes so much issues and it could get worse.
Yeah. Hmm. When will you get the results of your MRI?
And my portal notified me that they were ready on my way home, but I can't see them. It just shows the info. So
Oh, that's
I
so
know, and
frustrating.
usually the other places I go, I could look at it, but this one it's in there. So I have to
Oh,
wait. And I know when I call, they're gonna say, "Well, you have to come in and talk about the results." So that's probably not gonna be. He's only at the office. I see him on Thursdays, and next Thursday is the 4th. So I'm gonna have to wait 2 weeks.
mm,
I I might call the MRI place to see if they could email it to me or send it in the mail because I want to know. Like this is, I need to know if it says it shows it or doesn't.
that's like
Yeah,
the
yeah.
worst thing in
Sometimes
the
though, I know
world.
Yes.
with yeah, like when I do when I do my PET scans, it all depends. There's like even though it's with the same organization or the same company, the locations are different. Like sometimes I'll be able to read it right away, and other times it doesn't. And then you go into panic mode when you're used to always being able to read it. You think that because you can't read it, there's something they don't want you to see yet.
Yeah, that's how I was feeling. I
Yeah.
looked at it. I looked at it like 4 times since I got home to see if there was a link that popped up, but no.
Oh, well,
Yep, yep.
hopefully you get that
So
soon.
Yes.
yeah, sometimes as soon as the doctor, depending on how it's set up, as soon as the doctor actually reads it, they may you might be able to read it later if it gets released. So
Yes.
hopefully. In addition to the surgery, what other types of treatments or therapies have you tried, and have you found anything that seems to be more effective than other things?
I've tried physical therapy. I want to say at least 4 times. That didn't work too much because of the pain, and I would always leave dizzy. And it helped me for a little bit, like with my legs at the time. I've tried injections from pain management. They were injected into those nerve blocks in my neck. That didn't help at all. It actually made me worse. And my doctors told me, you don't get any more of these because of the sinks in my neck. Apparently, he said you're not supposed to get any injections near that.
Mhm.
I I've tried a handful of medications. Every month it was a different medication, and nothing would work. Nothing touches the pain. I've I've tried cold showers and just let it run on my back and my neck. That doesn't work. Ice packs, heating pads. That's how I knew something else was going on. Um, so right now, nothing really has helped me, to be honest.
That's got to be frustrating too.
Yes, very,
Too.
yes.
Yeah.
We always ask the people that we speak with about the mental side of chronic illness. You kind of said it's a progressive
Yeah,
disease, right? Okay,
yeah.
so I have MS, that's progressive as well. And one of the things that I have a hard time with is mentally accepting the future
Mhm.
of where things will go and how it will progress. And so, like, how do you deal with the whole mental side?
I deal with it. I know at first it was very hard for me because I know like that when it finally set in, I'm like my life is going to be totally different now. Um, I have children, so and my wife is very supportive, and my immediate family as well. So my kids are the ones that keep my mind off it. But there are times when I'm sitting there alone or before bed when everyone's sleeping, and I'm just thinking, God, I miss getting up, going to work. I was about to get a big promotion at my job. Um, I try to stay positive, but it's kind of hard sometimes. So what I do to help with my mental is I like to spread awareness and to do things in the community like I have with the Sunshine Skyway Bridge. I think it's the biggest bridge in America. I had last year was my first year. I got it approved for them to light it up purple for Chiari Awareness Month
Um,
in September, and they told me they approved it for every year from here on out. So this year will be lit up purple again. And just meeting other people with Chiari, even at the bridge, I met a family. So just reaching out to them helps a lot. Everyone's really friendly. I'm in a few groups. I like to help people and give advice. Different ways to cope. I always, if I'm feeling down, I'll talk to my wife or reach out to one of the friends I've made, and it helps me stay afloat. If I say
mhm.
that. And another thing I did this year, I'm hosting my first Chiari Malformation walk for Conquer Chiari. So being busy with that keeps my mind off things. So I try to be positive about it. But in the back of my mind, when I see people working, and I always wear scrubs. So when I see someone in scrubs that are the same color, it kind of hits me like, oh, I wish, I wish I was still doing that. So it gets me. I have my bad days when I'm very emotional, and now dealing with this leak, it's just frustrating. It's like,
Yeah.
Mhm.
yeah, it's up and down, but I tend to not hold it in because at first I used to hold it in a lot, and you know how it is if you hold in all your emotions at once. It's
Mhm.
your thoughts just literally start making you think so bad. You start thinking, "Was it gonna something's gonna happen to me? Something gonna happen to me soon?" My kids, and do my kids have it? But I've I'm getting better, like I say.
Yeah.
So like doing stuff like this, it helps a lot since I'm able to express and tell my story. You know,
Yeah.
so
You seem like a very positive person. And I know that, we just did an episode that's airing right before your episode about adjusting to your new normal. And we talked about, different things of all the changes that happen when you're diagnosed. And
right,
and so grief and depression and all of that is not linear. I mean, we all have those bad days where
right,
we're struggling, and then we pick ourselves up and we keep going, and I really am happy that you have found some outlets, and obviously some of those outlets are spreading awareness for Chiari, and so that's just, I mean, gives me ideas for things I can do for MS and all of that. So that's wonderful. Tina, do you have anything to add to that?
One thing that I've noticed with all of these interviews, Rachel, that we've been doing is that so many of them are like us, of turning to that advocacy and support roles to give what you deal with a purpose, I guess. Very, very big kudos to everybody out there that does that. But that's a big, advocating for, let's turn the bridge purple, advocating for
Mm.
that and for your community is just, it is definitely something that I feel like is, for a lot of people, important to feel like there's a purpose for what you're going through.
Yeah, yeah, that's I agree.
I feel like you're finding your purpose and
Yep.
doing a good job at that as well. So
How do you
it is.
manage your pain and other symptoms on a daily basis?
Managing I'm going on a month now where I'm getting a lot of pain in my lumbar area. I did have lumbar fusion in 2009. So I've always had a lot of pain in that area, but as of late, ever since these lumbar punctures, I don't know if they damaged the nerve or it's just because there's no fluid down there. A couple weeks ago it was pretty rough. I couldn't walk without a cane. I almost fell a couple times, and the only way I've noticed how to manage this right now is laying on my side.
Mhm.
Just laying on my right side for an hour or two. Then I get up, try to stretch my legs out, and then I'm sweating constantly. It's cold in the apartment here, and it looks like I just ran from outside. It's just constantly pouring. So that's new to me. So it kind of freaks me out a little bit. But like I said, ice packs don't help me, but I've been putting ice packs, cream, lidocaine cream, and I'm trying to find a way to balance it out. But I still haven't figured it out. And now my head symptoms are starting to, I think I'm going into a flare up. Um, so dealing with my lower back and then my head right now, I'm kind of overwhelmed right now. So
Mm.
I'm trying to figure out how to calm this pain. It's been hard. I haven't found anything that really helps, but just laying on my right side and having pillows propped. It scares me because I'm thinking to myself, or am I going to lose function in my legs? Is this going towards paralysis? Or so it's been pretty rough this past month. But for some reason, even my wife says this. She goes, "You never give up. You keep fighting. You try to walk even though you're in so much pain. I'll cry and just keep trying to walk, but until I say I can't do it." So I'm trying not to let it take over me. I'm trying to not let it. I feel like if I let it take over me, and that's it, I'm gonna be not be able to do anything. So I'm fighting right now real hard for it to still trying to find a way, but I'm not going to give up until I find a way to calm this down and get fixed. So
You mentioned something about a flare. So do you have like those flare ups and then everything calms down? Is the disease kind of work that way, going
yeah,
flaring?
yeah, and I've noticed that since my surgery. It I want to say it's always the third week of the month where I feel the flare up. Like I'm constantly have the headache, but during these flare ups, the headache it's intense. Um, I get extremely dizzy and the nausea is bad. So that's when I'm in the flare, I have to lay on my back most of the day until it subsides. Even if I get up, I have a little time period to get up. Like, okay, it's calmed down a little. But once I like say if I go to the bathroom or the kitchen to grab a drink, it just hits me like a car. Just it's like constantly, and you're like, oh my God. And just it's like you got to go back to laying down. Those are rough because they've been lasting for 2 to 3 weeks now, and I can't leave the house. And sometimes I know I can't leave, but I'll do it anyways. It'll be just to the store, and no lie, I'm throwing up in the parking lot, and I'm just sweating, and dizzy. The only thing you want to do is be on the bed or the couch the whole day. You don't even want to move. Um, and I just hope they don't get to the point where it's like nonstop. But I've noticed a lot of people, they get the flare ups different times in a month. Certain things trigger it. Right now, I know one is coming because my dizziness has been a little higher than usual. So my flare ups last 2 to 3 weeks. I might skip a month and the headache's there, but it's more manageable. Just it doesn't bother you right away. It takes longer for your symptoms to start acting up. So I'm able to do a little more things around the house and color with my kids. But I keep track of every little flare up. So I noticed every month, third month, but not, they used to last a week. Now they last in their 3 weeks.
Mm.
The flea, Chiari has a tendency of doing that. It's,
Mhm.
I call it as it. I forget what I called it the other day, but it strikes you whenever it wants. It's not prejudiced. I say it'll get you no matter what you do. That's the scary part of having this disease.
Have you been
Overwhelming.
able to pinpoint specific triggers or activities that make it worse, or is it just completely random?
It's completely random, but I noticed for me it's the heat. Last summer here in Florida, I think they said it was one of the hottest summers in I forget how many years. As soon as I'll go outside just to go to the supermarket that's 10 minutes away, that would trigger it a lot. So I try not to go in the heat. That's one of the reasons if you bend over to pick up something, I've caught myself. I know I'm not supposed to bend over. That's triggered a flare up. Um, just even getting dressed. If you you go the wrong direction and you just feel it in the back of your head. But if it's not the heat, it's to be honest, it's just nothing. I could be sitting at home and then it just hits me out of nowhere and I start throwing up.
Mm, my goodness. So, I feel that advocating behavior with you as well, wanting
Yeah.
to spread the word about Chiari and all that. So what would you is there something that you wish that people would either understand about Chiari or some advice that you would give to somebody who's just starting that path?
Yeah, under the Chiari, it could be it's an invisible illness. So we get judged a lot. They see us smiling or even going out to the store, smiling on pictures or being with family. They think, oh, he can't be that sick. I used to get it all the time during the beginning of my journey. And I was confused on why. Just because you don't see us in pain, we smile a lot. And I smile a lot and I mask it. I hide it pretty well. But when I'm alone or just with my wife, I let it all out. I don't mask it. So my message is for people to understand us and understand the condition and listen to us. And when we try to advocate to you about it, or even send videos on what Chiari does, it's just believe everything we say because it's nothing like your own family telling you, "Oh, you're not sick. It's not that bad. Oh, you had the surgery. You're cured. You're fine. What's the problem? Why are you acting like this? You're just doing it for attention." And it's not like that. So,
Yeah.
and that goes with anybody with a chronic illness. Just be nice to us because we're going through a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the big thing to be supportive, and there's nothing like having a lot of people on your side. When you're alone and no one's believing you, it makes it 10 times worse.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Sounds like you have a good support system with your
Yeah,
wife and that's good. And that's a great message because, it's true for a lot of chronic illnesses that they are invisible and you just want somebody to understand and they can't completely understand what you're going
right.
through, but just to have that empathy and just to say that I'm sorry you're going through this. I can't imagine what that's like for you and not to judge and not to think you're lying or anything like that. I mean, we all need to just be kind and supportive. So,
Yes, agree. Yeah, that's the main thing.
yeah.
Show kindness.
Yep.
We thought we'd take a brief pause
in our podcast to enjoy what I call a mini mindful moment. Now, mindfulness is, if you're not familiar with the concept, that is the practice of just being present in this particular moment in time. We're not thinking about things that have happened in the past. We're not thinking of things that are coming up. We're simply in this here and now. So I encourage you to join us on a little mindful moment here as I guide you through how to quiet your mind. One of my favorite techniques of that is simply become focused on my breath. So if you settle in, close your eyes, try to quiet your mind, and simply focus on taking a nice deep breath in through your nose, feeling it all the way down from your diaphragm all the way up, and hold it. And then release that breath through the mouth. One big, long breath out. And there should be no other thoughts going through your mind. Just simply focus on breathing in. Nice deep breath in through the nose and hold it. And deep breath out through your mouth, releasing all that tension in your body. Feeling yourself connected to nothing more than your body and your mind. You hear any outside noises, just simply push them away. Only concentrate on that breath. Deep breath in, hold it, and a nice long breath out. And if you find your mind starting to wander, just bring it back to focusing on nothing more than the process of those deep breath in all the way through the very bottom of your pit of your stomach, all the way up into your lungs. Nice and deep breath, and hold it. And a nice deep breath out. Simply quieting your mind and focusing only on those nice deep breaths in and a long breath out. And then take just a couple seconds, a few more breaths on your own. I won't guide you through these. If you find your mind starting to wander, just bring it right back to just focusing on the breath and nothing more. Give you a couple seconds to do a few deep breaths. And on your last exhale, nice deep exhale, and open your eyes and come back to the present moment and join us back on the remainder of our podcast. So recently online, you had posted about a gift from the New
Oh
York
yeah.
Giants football team.
We got to hear this story.
Yeah,
Yes.
we want to hear about this. Tell us more about that.
So one night I was laying down, I was watching YouTube, and this YouTuber, it was a video, I don't know how it popped up on my feed. He asked all the NFL, he emailed each of them to see if they get like merchandise and stuff sent. It was kind of like he was just trying to do this test, and he got stuff back. I'm thinking, well, I need sponsors for the walk. I'm a big New York Giant fan. So let me just reach out to someone there. I found the email. I was like, I'm thinking to myself, I'm not going to get an email back. If I do, it's probably going to be an automated thing. But one day at my doctor's, the email notification popped up on my phone as I'm sitting there, and his name is Daniel. And I had just told my story, summarized it well, sent them pictures of the bridge, tell them about the walk that we're going to be hosting and how I'm spreading awareness. I'm looking for sponsors. And he was like blown away about my story. And he's like, I showed your story to everyone in the office. And I'm thinking, oh, I exactly know what it's the Quest building. I was like, know exactly where the offices are. And he spread it and he goes, you know what? We're going to help. We may not be able to sponsor you since we're out of state, but I'm going to go ahead and send you a box of gear. And I'm thinking to myself, I was excited. I was like, I'm going to get something from the team. And it took a while. And he was like, stay in touch. I want to talk to you. When the bridge lighting comes in the walk, share that with me so I could share with everybody. So I asked him, he goes, I'm going to send that. I gave him my address. It took like maybe 2 months. I'm thinking, it's getting close to the draft and he's busy. So he would reach out to me randomly and tell me it's on the way. And then this past Sunday, um, I was like, she comes running in with this box, and she said, okay, it's your package from the Giants came. So I opened it, and they sent me a T-shirt, a sweater. Oh, it was like a sweater T-shirt. They sent me a hat, a note typed, congratulating me and keep up the good work on spreading advocacy. And then there's this football signed by the whole team. And it's the whole 23 team, and it's a collector's item. And they only made 1,000 of these. And when I saw that, I was just like, I can't believe I actually got a whole team football with the signature. And and it was actually a paper attached with it talking about it. And it's such a cool thing. Like, just to think that my story and my awareness, touch the Giants organization and happen to be my favorite team. So it meant a lot to me. So since Sunday, I've been like, even though I've been a lot of symptoms, but every time I look at that football, I'm like, wow, I can't wait to put it in a glass case, and there's like something I'll cherish forever. So that was really, really nice of them to do.
Yeah. And I heard that you wanted to donate that to us. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. I'm joking. No. That will be
I have too many friends. I live in Baltimore. I would have too many friends that would disown me if I was like, look, autograph Giants football.
Oh yeah, definitely.
So you keep talking about this walk. When is the walk? When does that happen?
It's on September 21st of this year during Chiari Awareness Month. Conquer Chiari does these walks. They've been doing these walks for many years, and I asked people in the group, when was the last time there was a walk here? And I think they said 2018. I was like, oh, this would be the perfect time to bring a walk into Tampa. And I'm doing it at Al Lopez Park. It's a nice park, has a nice trail. So I'm excited to do that. I'm getting sponsors now. I've already got 2. I got to get a few more. So it's going to be exciting to do. My wife and my children attended a walk last year. So after I went there, I was like, we got to host one, it's fun because then you meet other people, you get to put your faces to the people you talk to in the group. And, that's how you make more connections with people, and they start to become kind of like family, So I'm excited to get this done. And it was just like made official. I think yesterday I had a Zoom call with the park representative. So now it's like, oh, it's actually, I knew it was happening, but now that was like the stamp of approval. So I'm excited to do that. And we have some cool raffles we're going to do. So it's going to be fun.
Good. Well, I'll get more information from you, but we would love to share like where people can donate, or if there's anybody locally that wants to be involved. We'll definitely share that information on the description in the podcast, so that maybe you can get some extra money or some extra friends coming out to to support. So
That'd
anything we
that'd be
can do to
amazing.
help, yeah, let us know. So
I definitely will.
yeah. So tell us where can people find you online, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, anything like that, so that they can support you and get to know you a little bit more.
Yeah, on Instagram, that's been like my main page for spreading advocacy. So it's Steven underscore Chiari underscore warrior. I post daily. I post a lot of stuff and I love to connect with people on there. And I also have a TikTok. It's the same, Steven underscore Chiari underscore warrior. Or you could just
Okay.
look at my name, Steven Lopez. I do a lot of videos on there, a lot of slides, a lot of motivational stuff, and I update with a video of myself every so often, sharing, what going along the journey with me. I like to take people along the ride. I've met a lot of people on social media. Facebook is more, I do awareness stuff, but it's not as much.
Yeah.
That's more like I keep it for like my
We're
family.
us
Yeah.
Instagram people are cooler than
Yeah.
the Facebook people, right, Tina?
Yeah. Sure, whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
I keep
Um,
saying I need to become more active on Instagram, and I don't. I haven't done it yet, but
yeah. Oh my gosh. Well, I am so glad that you joined us today. Now, is there anything else that you would like to share today?
Um, I just share a message to everyone that has a chronic illness. Don't give up. Keep fighting. You deserve care and don't give up, especially with these doctors. It can be very complicated on getting them to understand you. Even if you have to get three, four opinions, like I have been doing, don't give up, and we're all gonna come out at this. We're all gonna be okay one day. And even if you just want to spread advocacy for the future generation, um, maybe there be more procedures or medication for that. So spread your stories, stay active on social media, and we're all people at the end of the day, and we all deserve, a normal life. So just keep fighting.
That's wonderful advice.
yeah, great message
Words
to
to live by,
everybody.
right?
Yes.
Yep. I think it's been just such a pleasure getting to know you, and looking forward to hearing more about the walk. And I definitely am encouraged to go get them. Definitely become more I need to start following all of our guests on
Yes.
Instagram so that I know what
Yes,
they're all
you need to
getting up
come
to,
over
because
to
it's
our
so much good
side.
stuff.
Yes, yes. Well, Stephen, you truly are an inspiration, and I can't say that I understand all the physical things that are going on with you, but just know that we feel how strong you are and what an inspiration, and how you're wanting to spread advocacy for the Chiari malformation, and just want to let you know that we're just proud of everything that you're doing, and you definitely are turning your illness into purpose, and you should be proud of yourself. So
I
thank you
appreciate it.
so
Thank you for
much for
having me.
coming on.
It was
Yes.
Thank you
exciting.
so much, Stephen.
Thank you so much. I enjoyed
Uh,
this.
it's amazing to me all the things that he's going through and how he can turn it into a positive. And his mission really seems to be that he wants to spread the word. He wants kindness in the world, and he just wants people to understand, that just to be kind to each other. And what a wonderful message of just be kind, share positivity. And I think that just positivity, I guess, is the word that when I think of him, it just comes to mind.
Yeah, I think, like, I see his message is definitely something that those that don't deal with a chronic illness on a regular basis, they don't necessarily have to understand what we all deal with, but at
Mhm.
least be compassionate about what we deal with.
Right, right. And
And for a lot of people, like, and I know this has come up in previous episodes too, that he just hit the nail on the head of, those that don't understand it, that have that attitude of, oh, well, you've already done blah blah blah, shouldn't you be all better now, or or you're just doing this for attention, you're faking it, it's really not that bad, or you just don't want to, you're using this as an excuse. And it's, I know that's something that the two of us had talked about in the past on a previous episode, but it's not just us. That's just, sadly, it's not an uncommon theme
Mm-hmm.
towards those that deal with chronic illness.
Yeah, and I know we joke a lot about, we joked a lot about bringing you over to the Instagram side, but it really is amazing just to connect with them and see their ups and downs and the things that they're dealing with.
I'm in a couple groups. So, one of them was for Keytruda, which was the immunotherapy drug that I was on, but another one was the upper tract urothelial cancer. And I originally joined it, of course, when I first got my diagnosis, to get to know people and to have that support. But I quickly turned into one of those supporters, and it's, it makes it speaks volumes to be one where somebody comes in new to the group, newly diagnosed, or they have a loved one newly diagnosed, and the numbers are very bleak for that specific cancer. And so they hear these hard numbers, and it definitely helps me feel that there was a more purpose to that, to what I went through, or a purpose for what I went through, when I can share my story and give them hope.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. And I think Steven is just all he wants to do is share his story and get the word out. And we're really hoping that he can find some relief for the CFS leak that he's got going on. And isn't it funny how, we normally don't stack two illnesses right back to back on our interview, and it just so happened this way. But last week's episode with Carissa, they're both dealing with the same thing, but their stories are completely different. And that's where I really enjoy hearing from people, because we haven't had one story that's been exactly the same as the next. And have just really enjoyed meeting everybody. And it's just a good community. I'm glad we did this, Tina.
Yeah, it's definitely, it's good for the soul.
It makes my heart happy. You know what else makes my heart happy? Looking into a weekend, because it's Thursday and we've got a weekend coming up here. So let's see, what do we have on the books for next week? So next Tuesday, we have an episode called Getting the Diagnosis, and we'll talk a little bit about the journey to getting the diagnosis, including getting a second opinion. We'll talk about the frustrations of not getting the diagnosis or being gaslighted and things like that. So we hope you have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you next week. Take care.